A very good morning to one and all. It gives me immense pleasure to extend a very warm welcome to our distinguished guests, respected dignitaries, faculty members, students, and all invitees to the 8th edition of the St. Chavara Excellence for Social Transformation Lecture Series 2026. In the previous years, the lecture has been delivered by luminaries like Dr. Manmohan Singh, the former Prime Minister of India, respected Member of Parliament Dr. Shashi Tharoor, renowned activist Ms. Aruna Roy, eminent journalist Mr. P. Sainath, German philosopher Dr. Thomas Pogge, Dr. Arun Kumar, and India's acclaimed metro man Mr. E. Sridharan. The 2026 edition of the lecture is to be delivered by Shri Yogendra Yadav, who is a key figure in Indian politics today. A thinker, activist, and scholar, he has consistently bridged the worlds of academia, public discourse, and grassroots movements. We are indeed honored to have you here, sir. Before we proceed further, it is only fitting that we reflect briefly on the towering legacy of the visionary in whose name this lecture series is instituted. This prestigious lecture series is organized in memory of Saint Kuriakose alias Chavara, whose visionary leadership and commitment to education and social reform continue to inspire generations. Saint Kuriakose alias Chavara stands as one of the most luminous figures in Kerala's social, educational, and spiritual history. A saint, scholar, educationist, and social reformer, Saint Chavara was far ahead of his time in recognizing education as the most powerful instrument of social transformation. At a time when large sections of society were denied access to learning, he championed inclusive education by establishing pallikudams, schools attached to churches, open to children from all social backgrounds. His relentless efforts against social exclusion, ignorance, and discrimination laid the foundation for Kerala's later intellectual and cultural renaissance. As the founder of the CMI congregation and a pioneer of organized education in the region, Saint Chavara believed that knowledge must serve justice, dignity, and the common good. The Saint Chavara Excellence for Social Transformation lecture series is inspired by this very conviction, bringing ideas into dialogue with society and thought into action. As we begin with the formal proceedings, I request you all to rise for the college anthem. Thank you. The choir will now present two hymns dedicated to the legacy of Saint Chavara, celebrating his life and works. Thank you, dear students. As we continue the ceremony, I request our speaker to take his place on stage, along with our manager, Reverend Dr. Varghese Kachapalli, our principal, Dr. C.S. Biju, the staff secretary, Dr. Robbie Cherian, and associate professor, Dr. Jinu George. Light has always symbolized knowledge, wisdom, and hope. In keeping with our tradition, we shall now proceed to the lighting of the ceremonial lamp, invoking the blessings of Saint Chavara for the success of this endeavor. May I request our esteemed dignitaries to kindly come forward for the lamp lighting. Biju, Principal of Sacred Heart College, Kochi, to welcome the gathering.
A very warm good morning to one and all. I'm deeply honored and privileged to have to welcome our distinguished guest today, Shri Yogendra Yadav. This year, Shri Yogendra Yadav, political activist and thinker, will deliver the Chavara International Lecture Series. As you know, Mr. Shri Yogendra Yadav is a very renowned political thinker and analyst. At the same time, he serves as the convener of Bharat Jodo Abhiyan. To speak about democracy and the Constitution in India today is not merely a rehearsal to rehearse a narrative of institutional endurance, but to engage with a living, contested, and continuously reinterpreted political narrative. The Indian Constitution is not a static legal document frozen in the 50s. It is a dynamic archive of struggles, historical, social, and ethical, through which the idea of India is repeatedly and continuously negotiated. In the recent years, Indian democracy has undergone profound transformations, marked by both institutional deepening and structural stress constraints. Electoral participation has expanded dramatically. Federal aspirations have intensified, and marginal communities have asserted constitutional claims with a renewed force. The Constitution of India was conceived not merely as a framework for governance, but as a moral and social revolution, as Dr. B.R. Ambedkar envisaged in the 50s. The radicalism lay in his commitment to transformative constitutionalism. The idea that law must actively dismantle historical injustice rather than merely arbitrate present disputes. This ambition remains deeply relevant in contemporary India, where democracy is increasingly evaluated not only by electoral outcomes, but by its capacity to protect dissent, ensure social justice, and preserve constitutional morality. Democratic vitality in India has historically depended on regional diversity, linguistic plurality, and local political imagination. The erosion of federal autonomy risks flattering this diversity into administrative uniformity. To practice constitutionalism as a critical ethic, which involves resisting the reduction of his citizenship to identity, governance to efficiency, and democracy to spectacle. It requires reaffirming the Constitution as a counter-majoritarian document, a narrative designed precisely to protect those whom democracy might otherwise exclude. Shri Yogendra Yadav, Yadav's political thought is grounded in a radical reimagining of democracy as a participatory, ethical, and deliberative practice, rather than a mere electoral mechanism. Trained as a political scientist and shaped by grassroots activism, Yadav consistently critiques the procedural reduction of democracy and argues for substantive deepening through social justice, decentralization, and popular sovereignty. His interventions foreground the crisis of representation produced by elite capture, majoritarian nationalism, and the deep politicization of citizens under neoliberal governance. Central to his vision is the idea of second democratic upsurge, which was very renowned in the media recently, where marginalized social groups assert political agency beyond party hierarchies. Allowing for participatory principled dissent, Yadav emphasized the constitutional morality, pluralism, and federal balance. With this brief introduction, I would like to welcome wholeheartedly, on behalf of this renowned educational institution, Sacred Heart College, and the faculty, students, and the management of this college, I wish to welcome Shri Yogendra Yadav to Sacred Heart College to deliver the Chavara International Lecture for Social Transformation. This function, our CMI, I welcome you, Reverend Father, to the Chavara International Lecture for Social Transformation. We have a very distinguished audience here, including the representative of Kerala government at Delhi, Professor K.V. Thomas, former union minister and an alumni and former faculty in our institution. Dr. Father Shant, former principal and one of the mentors of this modern institution. Reverend priests, vice principals, deans, heads of the departments, our respected teachers, and my dear students. I welcome you all to the Chavara International Lecture for Social Transformation 2026. Thank you.
On behalf of the college, I also welcome our principal, Dr. C.S. Biju, to this program. I now request Reverend Dr. Varghese Kachwali, CMI, Manager of SICH Institutions, Kochi, to deliver the presidential address.
Just as it is impossible to see the object of this world Without the light of physical eyesight, it is impossible to see the heaven and the Lord who dwells therein without the light of education. Therefore, just as those lacking eyesight are called blind, those lacking the light of education are knowledge blind. Saint Chavara Kuriakos. Respected Chief Guest Speaker of the Day, Shri Yogendra Yadav, political thinker and activist, distinguished guests, family members, dear students, ladies and gentlemen. It gives me great pleasure to welcome you all to the Saint Chavara Excellence for Social Transformation Lecture Series 2026. This lecture series is more than an academic program. It is a reflection of our belief that education must go beyond knowledge and lead to social transformation. By placing this initiative under the inspiration of Saint Kuriakos Elias Chavara, we affirm a vision of education rooted in justice, inclusion, and service to society. Saint Chavara believed that learning finds its true meaning when it empowers the marginalized and strengthens the moral fabric of society. In a world facing growing inequality, social fragmentation, and democratic challenges, this vision speaks to us with renewed urgency. We are deeply honored today in the presence of Shri Yogendra Yadav as our chief guest. He represents a rare combination of scholarship and public engagement. As a political thinker, he has consistently encouraged us to look at democracy not merely a system of governance, but a living process that depends on informed, active, and responsible citizens. At a time when public discourse is often polarized and superficial, his voice stands out for its clarity, integrity, and commitment to democratic values. His work invites us to ask essential questions about participation, representation, and social justice. Questions that are central to the idea of social transformation. Institutions of higher learning have a special responsibility in shaping the future of our society. Our task is not only to produce skilled professionals, but nurture critical thinkers and compassionate citizens who are willing to engage with the social realities and work for the common good. My dear students, you are not just observers of change, but agents of change. Engage with ideas deeply, question fearlessly, and allow your education to guide you forward meaningful social commitment. On behalf of the institution, I express our sincere gratitude to Shri Yogendra Yadav for graciously accepting our invitation and for being with us today. We look forward to an enlightening lecture that will challenge our thinking and inspire responsible actions. May the spirit of Saint Chavara continue to guide us from excellence in education to transformation of society. Thank you.
Thank you, Father, for those inspired thoughts. I invite Dr. Ginu George, Associate Professor and Head of the Department of Chemistry, to kindly ascend and introduce the distinguished speaker.
Good morning, everyone. It's my great privilege to welcome you all to the Chavara Excellence for Social Transformation Lecture Series 2026. Today, we are honored to have with us Shri Yogendra Yadav, a distinguished Indian public intellectual, political analyst, psephologist, and social activist with a deep interest in politics and social sciences. He began his career in academia, including serving as a professor at Punjab University and later as a senior fellow at the Center for the Study of Developing Societies, CSDS, in New Delhi. He has served on the University Grant Commission and on the National Advisory Council on the Right to Education Act, contributing to important national policy discussions in the field of education and governance. Shri Yadav has been a prominent
I now request Reverend Dr. Varghese Kachapalli, CMI, Manager of
processes in the media since the mid-1990s, helping citizens better understand electoral trends and political developments through the Lokniti programs. He is also the author and editor of several influential books on democracy and political science, including Making Sense of Indian Democracy and State of Democracy in South Asia. In public life, he has played an active role in politics, first as a member of the Aam Aadmi Party's National Executive, and later as a founding leader of Swaraj Abhiyan and the National President of Swaraj India. He has also been closely associated with the farmers' movements and with efforts to strengthen participatory democracy. Through his academic work, public engagement, and grassroots involvement, Shri Yogendra Yadav has consistently advocated ethical politics, inclusive development, and responsible citizenship. His contributions have made him one of the most respected voices in contemporary Indian public life. We are confident that his insights and experiences will inspire us to reflect on social transformation and our role in building a just and democratic society. On behalf of the institution, it is our honor to welcome Shri Yogendra Yadav, a true organic intellectual, and invite him to deliver today's lecture. Thank you. Welcome, sir.
Reverend Dr. Varghese, Principal Professor C.S. Biju, Dr. Ruby Cherian, Dr. Ginu George, members of the CMI congregation here, faculty and students of Sacred Heart College and other institutions. I'm very grateful for this opportunity to deliver the International Social Excellence Lecture. I was listening to the beautiful introduction about me, and I felt, what can I do after such lovely introduction? I can only spoil my reputation now. Because if I keep quiet, you will go back thinking you must have been a great man. But if I speak, I'll bring my reputation down, which is what I'm going to do now. As you rolled out the list of speakers who have given lectures in this series, beginning with Dr. Manmohan Singh, Aruna Roy, Professor Pogi, Shashi Tharoor-ji. It's such a distinguished list. I certainly don't belong to that. So to make up for that, I thought instead of giving you a very distinguished lecture that great people deliver, I'll simply turn this into a classroom. But you all have to cooperate. So my apologies to all the people sitting in the front. I acknowledge you, I respect you, but I'm going to ignore you. And I'm going to speak straight to those who are sitting at the back. So let this be a classroom, but a classroom works only when there is an interactivity. All right? So the rules of the game are the following. You can ask any question at any point. No limits. One person will ask only one question. The same person will not raise his or her hand twice. You can say whatever you want to say, but no preface, no introduction, no thank you, no rituals. Straight shoot your question. Okay? And the distinguished guests in the front can and will offer their comments, but only after the lecture. During the lecture, they do not have the privilege to disrupt or disturb. Only you can disturb and disrupt. And when I ask any question, only you will answer those questions. Is that right? Can I have a show of hands to say that we agree? Do we agree? Are aage wale ne piche wale? Do they agree? Not many agree. Can I ask it again? What I propose to do is the following. I'm going to speak. I'm going to ask you questions. And I would like you to respond. Anyone can respond, but one person only once. And you can also ask any question. Now, please raise your hands to show that you agree with this idea, with this proposition. Everyone who raises hand will not be asked to answer a question, don't worry. Okay. Those who disagree with it and want a distinguished lectures to be delivered continuously can raise their hand now. Okay, no one wants lecture. Lovely. That's not what I'm going to do. Fine. So, but it works only if you cooperate. It doesn't work if you sit silently, or if you are checking your Instagram, or if you are speaking to your friend sitting next. It doesn't work then, all right? We will all interact. And if there's no mic, don't worry, just stand up and shout. You'll be heard. All right? Okay. As I said, the principal was kind enough to introduce what I want to talk about. I was listening to the introduction to the hymns and what was said about Saint Chavara. And I was asking myself a question. Saint Chavara passed away more than 150 years ago. But if he was alive today, what would he be doing? If Saint Chavara, who fought against discrimination, against exclusion, who stood for inclusion, who wanted knowledge and education to spread to everyone, if he was alive today, what would he be doing? Any thoughts? You can just stand up and shout. Yes. What would he be doing? Loud. He would be fighting for the rights of the people. How good? So we've made a good start. Lovely answer. Thank you very much. And incidentally, there is no wrong answer. All answers you are going to give are correct answers. There is nothing like a wrong answer. So, he would have been fighting for the rights of the people. In my language, a language that your institution may not share, he would have been doing politics. Now, that's a scandalous suggestion. It's an odd suggestion. I would take this provocation further. If Swami Vivekananda was alive today, he would have been doing politics. If Shri Guru Narayan was alive today, he would have been doing politics, just as Mahatma Gandhi had to do politics. Why? I'll come back to that answer towards the end. But when I say Saint Chavara would have been doing politics, Sri Narayan Guru would have been doing politics, I'm not saying they would have been contesting elections for MLA or MP. No, that's not what I mean. That's a nice thing to do, not necessarily the only thing. There is surface politics and there is deep politics. Surface politics is about contesting elections, occupying chairs, becoming ministers, becoming MLAs, MPs. And deep politics is about changing the power relations. So they may not be doing surface politics, but if those saints were alive today, they would certainly be doing deep politics. What is deep politics? How can we do it? I'll come back to that towards the end. Just keep that thought in your mind. What would Saint Chavara be doing today? I do not know. But I guess what would concern him and what he would like to stand for is to defend the Constitution. Just think about it. When I entered your college, the outside wall has preamble to the Constitution there. It has fundamental duties there. The nice pictures here, we see some of the Constitution makers. If Saint Chavara was with us, he would have been defending the Constitution. What does it mean to defend the Constitution? What is a constitution? So let me begin by simply spelling out three simple terms. We say we have a Constitution of the Republic of India. No, not twice. The rule of the game is one person only once. You've exhausted your. So what is a constitution and what is a republic? Can anyone say what is a republic? Anyone? Look, it will work only if it's interactive. I'm not going to just go away and give a lecture and walk away. So I'm not a dignitary. You have to interact. Anyone on what is a republic? Why do we say India is a republic? Don't worry, your answer is right. No answer is wrong. But I want to hear that. And I will stay silent till one of you speaks. Sir, not from the front row. The answer has to come from the... Yes, please, stand up.
A free country with its own set of independent rules.
Absolutely. A free country with its own independent set of rules. What we call a sovereign country. Another feature of a republic is a country which has no king, where there is no hereditary head of the state, is technically by political scientists called a republic. You don't have political science department here. And that's very good. Because I keep saying, understanding politics and understanding political science are two very different things. So we are focusing on politics. We are not into political science. A republic, they say, is a country where the ruler is not hereditary. Britain is not a republic because governed by a king. Nepal was not a republic, but now that they have done away with the king, Nepal is a republic. That is what the textbook of political science tells us. But underlying a republic is, as my friend said, people. A republic, the heart of the republic is a people. As my friend here said, a community. A republic is a community, it's a political community. A political community becomes real and alive when it has certain shared values. Those values must be believed, shared, and articulated. Where do we find those values in India? What is that document in India which has those values inscribed in it? Any answer? What is that document in India where the values of our republic are written down? You can all shout. Sorry? As I said, I'm a very besharam person. I'm not going to move till I get an answer. What is that document which I refer to, where these values of the Indian Republic have been enshrined? Can't hear. Constitution, yes. Why are you so afraid of speaking? Absolutely right. Can we have claps for that? Yeah. Now, what is Constitution? Constitution can have two different meanings. Constitution is a document which we all talk about, the Constitution of India. You have a book called the Constitution of India. But when you go to a doctor, the doctor also speaks of Constitution. A doctor says, your Constitution is weak. You need to improve your Constitution. What does that mean? A Constitution is not necessarily only a document. A Constitution is also about the structure, the body, the basic frame of a society. So, we have a Constitution with a capital C. Constitution with a capital C is the Constitution of India, which is a legal document. And we have a Constitution with a small c, which is Constitution that defines our society, our polity. This Constitution with a small c is a deeper Constitution. Constitution with a capital C is only inscribing, only a way of writing down Constitution with a small c. Now you would wonder, what is this small c, big C business? What difference does it make? The point I wish to make is that the Constitution of India, the legal document, is not only a document that some people sat and wrote down, Dr. Ambedkar, Nehru, Rajendra Prasad. No, it is a document that reflects our deeper societal values. Constitution of India was not written only in 2 years. Constitution of India was written over 100 years. And the Constitution of India reflects the values of our civilization and society as they have evolved for 3,000 years. Now, that's a big claim. Constitution of India reflects ideas and ideals which traveled for 3,000 years. It's not an ordinary document. And if that is the case, then defending the Constitution of India is about defending the very idea of India. Because Constitution is about inscribing values of India on a piece of paper. And when I say if Saint Chavara was alive today, he would have engaged in politics to defend the Constitution, I do not mean that he would have necessarily stood on the street with Jindabad, Murdabad. I do not mean that he would have been MLA or MP. But he'd have definitely been engaged in defending some of the deeper values which are inscribed into the Constitution of India. What are those deeper values? Once again, you have to help me. Can you remember some of these words from the Constitution, which according to you are some of the foundational values of our republic? There are 3, 4, 5 words. There are 20, 25 words of this kind in the Constitution. But any 7 words that come to your mind? Now quickly, just raise your hand, stand up and say it. Yes. Please stand up and say it.
Justice, liberty, equality, fraternity.
So many, you've said 4. Liberty, equality, fraternity, justice. Thank you very much. These are all words straight from our preamble. Something more? The Constitution also speaks of some isms. What are those isms? Absolutely, you got it absolutely right. These are core ideas written into the Constitution. But I want to hear more. Any idea? I said every answer is a good answer.
Sovereign, socialism, secularism,
Sovereign,
Socialism,
socialist,
republic,
secular,
democratic, republic,
Republic.
equality, fraternity.
Absolutely. All right, thank you. So between the two of us, between 2 of your friends, we have the entire list. The list can go on and on. But these are some of the key ideas in the Constitution. In the remaining half an hour or so, I'm going to persuade you that 4 of these ideas are absolutely critical to India, not just to the Constitution, not just to the document called the Constitution of India, but that they are written into the Constitution of India as a society and civilization. What are those 4 things? The 4 things that you mentioned and the 4 things that you mentioned actually map onto each other. They're not very different. So I'll use the words, one set of words. Secularism, socialism, democracy, and a word that does not figure in the preamble, and therefore you did not mention it because it is not in the preamble at all, but a word which is quite critical, federalism. Your principal mentioned that word. Secularism, socialism, democracy, federalism. I'm going to suggest that all these 4 words are written into the Constitution of India even before the Constitution of India was born. These are written into our society. They are woven into our society. Let's start with secularism. Okay, let me begin with a game. How many, I realize this is a minority institution, but I want to know how many of you are not a minority? Who is not a minority? You can raise your hands. Yeah, nothing wrong with not being a minority. Just raise your hands. Only 4, 5? Please, I mean, ऊपर पूरा उठाने में कोई, there's no penalty. How many of you are not a minority? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There are many. As I said, there is no penalty. Don't worry. Okay. Can any of you get up and say why you are not a minority? Anyone? I'm not going to force you. Otherwise, we'll have a show of hands once again. Anyone who's not minority, can you just get up and say why you are not a minority? Don't worry, come. Yeah. come. As I said, I'm not going to progress till I get an answer. Once again, a show of hands of those who said they are not a minority. Come. Those who are not a minority will please show their hands again. Okay, that person in the black shirt. Yeah, why don't you tell us, why do you are... No. This is just a straightforward question, nothing special here. Why are you not a minority? Yes?
I think I'm not a minority because we belong to, like a lot of the people of our Indian population belong to my religion or something like that.
Okay, so what is your religion?
I'm a Hindu.
You are a Hindu.
Yeah.
So you are your religious identity is that of a Hindu, and you therefore are not a minority. Fair enough. Is that the reason why many of us had raised hands? Because many of you who have raised hands are probably not Christians. That's why you raised the hand. All right? Is that a fair assumption? That like her, many of you said we are not a minority because we are a Hindu. Just like I am born in a Hindu family. Fine, thank you. Now, can I ask you one more question? Yeah. Is your caste, whichever caste you come from, and I don't need to know, is that majority in Kerala?
Majority.
No, your caste, the caste that you are born in, is that a majority in Kerala?
Yeah, a majority in Kerala.
They are more than 50% of Kerala, the caste that you come from.
Oh, sorry, I don't know the percentage.
Yeah.
I'm not aware of it.
Yeah, because there is no such caste.
Yeah, I'm not aware of it.
Yeah. No, perfectly all right. Good answer. I want all of us sitting in the room now to think that we are answering the question like she did. Every one of us needs to think about it. Are we not a minority? Someone like me might say, of course I'm not, I'm a Hindu. Okay, yeah, by your religion, I'm not a minority. Not in this country. But if I was living in Kashmir, I would be a minority. If I was living in Mizoram, I would be a minority. But in Kerala, I'm not. In Delhi, I'm not. In Haryana, I'm not. Fine. But according to my caste and community, am I a majority or a minority? I'm a minority by caste and community. By ethnicity, you can sit down. By ethnicity, we are a minority. The only point I want to make is this. There is not a single person in this country who is not a minority. By one definition or another. By religion, 80% people would say, I'm not a minority. If you ask them about language, then many would drop out and say, okay, I'm not, I'm a minority by language. Then you ask them about ethnicity, then you ask them about caste, and you ask them, is there a person who is majority by religion, by caste, by language, by ethnicity, at the national level, at the state level, and in their own locality? There is not one person in India who is of that kind. What is the point of all this? Is to say that India is a country of minorities. We are all minorities. If minorities do not survive, none of us survives. India does not survive. Secularism is based on this foundation. This is the idea of secularism. The basic principle of secularism is simply this. We have different faiths, different denominations, different value systems. I, for example, am agnostic. It's an odd thing to say in a religious institution, but I must be candid. I do not believe in God in the manner in which many people do. And your institution has been so kind as to invite me and put me on a podium. Instead of thrashing me, you have put me on a podium. You respect me. I'm sure Reverend does not agree with me, but he has given me the space to come and speak, including to say that I do not believe in God. Just as he has given me the space, I must give similar space to everyone. This is the basic idea of secularism is simply this. In this country, no one faith or belief or accident of birth triumphs. No one can say, I'm the owner of this country and everyone else is a tenant, which is how it is put very often. And I see that happening in North India. Many North Indians who speak Hindi behave as if they are the landlords of this country and everyone else is a tenant. Secularism teaches us that that does not work. The foundation of this country rests on the belief that we are all minorities. We will all respect each other. Even if we do not agree with each other, we would not come in the way. And this is not new. The word secularism is new, but the idea is not new at all. This goes back to Ashoka. Ashoka talks about Maitri. What is Maitri? In fact, Ashokan pillars clearly say that. You may disagree with someone, but you shall tolerate those people. You shall be kind to them. You shall be good to them. So, secularism goes back to Ashoka. Secularism goes back to Akbar. Akbar has a policy called Sulh-Kul. Akbar is Muslim, and he faces this problem. I am a Muslim ruler, but my subjects, my people are not Muslim. What do I do? Convert them? Force them? Impose my religion on them? No. The doctrine of Sulh-Kul says, my praja, my people, my subjects can have any belief. The king's religion and the people's religion need not be the same. Respect and tolerance for every belief is written into that. Secularism is only a modern word for that. Someone might come and tell you, oh my God, secularism is a word that was inserted in the Indian Constitution only in 1975. Secularism is not true to the Indian Constitution. That is wrong. Because while the word secularism was inserted in 1975, the idea that in India all religions are to be treated equally, all minorities are to be respected, there is no state religion, everyone has the right to believe and propagate their religions. All these things are right there in the very original document of the Constitution of India. So Indian Constitution was secular even before the word secularism was inserted in the Constitution. And India was secular even before the Constitution was written. It's an old belief which has been transformed and given a new name. Let me turn to a second thing, democracy. What is democracy? Can anyone just say that? What is democracy? Yeah. Perfect. Just be loud.
Democracy, it means rule of the people. That's it.
Absolutely, yes. This is the essence. The essence of democracy is rule of the people. We very often use Lincoln's definition of the people, for the people, by the people. You know, we say all that. In that sense, is democracy new to India? Indeed, it is new. The word democracy is new. The formal system of democracy is new. But the idea is not necessarily new. It goes back to Buddha's time. During Buddha's time, there is the idea of Vinay. Vinay today is seen to be a virtue of politeness. Vinay today for all of us means someone who is polite, someone who is obedient. That is not what Vinay meant in those times. In the Buddhist Sangha, there is a code of conduct. Vinay during those days meant a code of conduct. And Vinay Pitaka, which is a Buddhist document, Buddhist grantha, that is the first code of conduct written out for the Buddhist monks. Just like you have a monastery where I stayed last night, monastery across the road. Similarly, there were Buddhist monasteries. And those monasteries had rules about what to do, what not to do. The idea of Vinay comes from that. Now you would say, what does that have to do with democracy? Many of the ideas that we practice today are directly there. Ideas like voting. Vinay Pitaka is a code of conduct which tells you how decisions are to be arrived at. Who is to take a decision? Who can vote? What is a quorum? Who cannot vote? It says, if a monk is a woman, she has an equal right to vote. A senior monk and a junior monk would have equal right to vote and give their opinions. It is the beginning of what we today call democracy. That might look odd. Modern democracies are not built on Buddhist ideals. That's true. Modern democracies have been transformed over the years. But in modern democracies, the roots are taken from some of the very ancient understandings. let me take a third word, socialism. What does socialism mean? Someone has to say something. Socialism, in Kerala, many people should know, no? Socialism? Anyone? All of you have given correct answers so far. Yeah. What is socialism? I hope you're not checking on your phone. Anyone? Yeah.
Socialism means equal opportunity for all. Yes. Everyone is equal.
Yes, absolutely. I don't know, why do you hesitate? All your answers are correct, yet you hesitate for so long. The core of socialism is the idea of equality. Equality is socialism. On top of that idea, people have put in all kinds of other theories, but forget all those theories. It's about equality. Now, is that there in Indian civilization and society? You would say no, Indian society is very unequal, and that is a fact. We have had a long, long tradition of caste-based injustice and inequality. Indian society has always discriminated against women. So yes, we cannot claim that we have always been a society of equals. No society in the world can claim to be a society of equals, historically. All societies have been unequal societies. But how do we connect it to our past? I would just leave three words with you. Just think about those three words. Karuna. Thank you. The word karuna today means pity, but that's not the word karuna meant. The word karuna in Hindu and Buddhist thought, the word rehem in Islam, and compassion that comes from Christianity. All these three words lie at the foundation of what we today call socialism. In fact, Western socialism is very much inspired by Christian values. Although the socialists are non-believers, but the idea of socialism and the moral impulse of socialism comes from Christian values. Similarly, in India, the idea of karuna, of rehem, has informed what we today call socialism or equality. And finally, let me say a word about federalism. Since you are not students of political science, I will not ask you questions on that. Federalism in the world normally means a political system where central authority does not control all the powers, where power is divided between central authority and lower levels of authority, state, province, village, municipality. Division of powers between central authority and other levels of authority is what federalism is all about. Is India a federal country? The Constitution does not say so. The Constitution deliberately uses a vague expression called Union of States, because our Constitution makers were very unsure about whether the word federalism may be too dangerous, especially after the partition. our constitution makers thought that we should not use the word federalism because it may imply that states can secede if they want to. Therefore, they use the word union of states. But the word union of states actually carries a deeper meaning that goes back once again to our civilization. In Indian civilization, across rulers, across centuries, there is an acceptance that different localities behave differently. Different places have different customs. Different people behave in ways which are different from us, and that's all right. This basic idea of Deshachara, that is the foundation of what we today call federalism. Indian nationhood is very different from any other nationhood in the West. In the West, especially in Europe in the last 200 years or so, the idea of nation is one nation, one language, one religion, one race. Uniformity defines religion. In India, that is not the case. Indian nationalism always believed in diversity. Indian nationalism accepted differences of region, differences of language. We never believed in one nation, one language, one culture, one religion. No, that was not Indian nationalism. Our national anthem, so there are two ways of looking at a nation. One is Hindi, Hindu, Hindustan as the core of Indian nation. This is an idea that many people propagate. And they say, okay, in India, if we have to have unity, the unity will come from Hindi as a language, Hindu as religion, Hindustan is the culture. So India can only be united through this. This is a very European idea. This is not an Indian idea. What is the Indian idea? Indian idea is Punjab, Sindh, Gujarat, Maratha, Dravid, Utkal, Banga. It is an acceptance of differences. My unity does not reside in oneness. My unity is constituted by respecting all forms of differences. So remember, Hindi, Hindu, Hindustan versus Punjab, Sindh, Gujarat, Maratha, Dravid, Utkal, Banga. This is the essence of Indian federalism. A country that deeply respects differences. That's why there is no national language in India. People might say, when you go out of Kerala, they might say Hindi is a national language, you must speak it. If anyone says so, please tell them, okay, show me the Constitution of India, show me where is it that Hindi is defined as the national language. There is no one national language of India. And that is the reason why it is so. Because our notion of what it means to be a nation is very different from a European nation understanding. So I spoke of four things: secularism, democracy, socialism, and federalism. In the next 5-7 minutes, I will conclude by bringing it all together. The question that I want you to reflect upon, I'm not going to ask you now the questions. I just want you to think with me. Are these four things being respected in today's India? Just think about it. Let's start with democracy. Do we have democracy in India today? Someone would say, of course you have democracy. You have come here, you are giving a lecture, we have elections. Well, we have democracy. That's probably not the case. Someone would say India is not a dictatorship. Yes, formally not. But please remember, in 21st century, everything is smart. Students are smart, all of you are very smart. Even telephones have become smart. And dictators have also become smart. Dictators do not come and say, I'm announcing martial law tomorrow, we will have censorship tomorrow. No dictator says that. It is stupid, it is silly, no one does this. The 21st century model of killing a democracy, there's a lovely book on how democracies die. The 21st century model of killing a democracy is precisely by maintaining law, maintaining constitution, by capturing independent institutions, by gradually restricting human rights and civil liberties, by ensuring that the level playing field in elections is tilted in favor of the ruling party, by ensuring that all the formalities of democracy take place without any substance. This is exactly what is happening in India. This is happening in Turkey. This has happened in Hungary. This happened in Sri Lanka. This is exactly what is happening in India. We are becoming a classic case of competitive authoritarianism, where for all practical purposes we have authoritarian rule, but there are small windows of political competition in which the chances of the ruling party losing an election are very low anyway. So elections will be held, but the ruling party will continue. This is the system we are entering in. Do we have socialism today? You will joke, you will laugh at it. We've never had socialism. We have never had equality. But something very strange is happening. Earlier, we did not have equality, but rulers used to talk about equality. Now, they don't even need to talk about it. Even the lip service has been dropped. Yesterday, the finance minister presented the budget. And for the last 10 years, my colleagues and I, on behalf of the farmers' movement, always read the budget from the point of view of the farmers. Yesterday, when the speech came to an end, we were flabbergasted because the speech did not mention the farmers at all. They just disappear. They don't exist in this country. It's not that earlier people were doing great justice to farmers. I'm not saying that. But earlier there was a pretense. There was a lip service. There was a recognition that poor people exist in India and I need to do something about them even if I actually don't. Now, even that pretense has been dropped. Do we have secularism in this country? On that, we don't need to have debate, because the Prime Minister himself clearly says, when he won the election in 2019, the Prime Minister openly said, no one now has the courage to talk about secularism in this country. He said it openly. And when the Prime Minister says that people can be recognized by their clothes, when the Prime Minister of a country declares 15-20% of the population of his country to be ghuspetias, to be intruders, secularism would be a joke. The simple fact is that we live in a country where Muslims have already been reduced to the status of second-rung citizenship, and others are going to join them. Don't be under any mistake, because this is exactly what happens in all such regimes. When it is my turn, he's thinking quietly, "Arey, main to bach gaya." Only he is being persecuted. When it is his turn, the fellow next to him says, "Chalo, these two were caught, I'm all right." When it is his turn, there is no one left to defend him. This is exactly what's happening in our country today. Muslims have already been reduced to the stage of second-rung citizenship. Others are likely to follow, although they do not know, although some of them might celebrate, although some of them might feel, yeah, I'm all right, only he's being caught. Do not be under any such illusion. Everyone's turn will come one by one. And what about federalism? Federalism, as you sitting in Kerala would know, you have had all kinds of controversies in the last few months of center. Yes. Loud. Yeah, please. Take a mic. I'm very happy that someone is asking a question. That is what I really wanted today. Yeah. Yeah. Doesn't matter, you can shout loud. It's all right. Or you can come here. Yeah. Come here. Come. Yeah. See if it's working. If it's not, you can speak from here. Yeah. Yeah. Give any other mic too. That's all right. Yeah. Too much technology. Yeah. Yes.
Sir, I just wanted to count. I don't know if it's countering or just, saying
Of
something.
course you should
Sorry
counter.
if it
Why
is not okay. I just wanted to say a few things which I just felt that I had to note down. Initially, during your speech, you said that in India, there has been a history of discrimination against women. But as a Keralite, as a proud Keralite too, and like you said, when you emphasized on federalism, I think this should be mentioned that today it is democratic, but then prior to being a democracy, Kerala was majority ruled by the Travancore kingdom. This Travancore kingdom, the succession was never patrilineal or like father-son. It was fully matrilineal, where women had a say. And today too, if I'm correct, people in our state will know more about the queen and the ladies of Travancore kingdom than the king and the men of Travancore kingdom. So in the way when you said, yes, women have suffered, but not everywhere in our country. There are places where women are cherished, and if I'm right, to the northeast, there is even a festival where the Mother Earth is considered to undergo periods, and it is celebrated very highly. And so I do not accept that. Sorry. Second thing, sir, you stated, sorry, I just wanted to check it out. I just wrote it down, sorry.
Now, I'm very happy because that is the whole purpose of this discussion, so that you disagree. It's only when we disagree that we can open to thinking.
And then you initially, when we started this off with education and how so secularism and everything. Sir, education, it was a Freudian slip, I guess. You mentioned this as a religious institution, but this is not a religious institution, this is an educational institution associated with a religion. And here it's a place of knowledge where knowledge is transmission. And when you ask the caste I prefer that when we ask the caste, and today there is no essence in caste because we are all one Indians, and when we take it as caste, there is no point in taking caste because we do not, apart from, for discriminating or other purposes, there is no basis. And I guess the UP High Court also stated in this matter whether in officially, apart from cases and reservation, caste should not be mentioned anywhere, and I guess that judgment too should come. And going to a place where and then later on, I guess there was socialism came into play. Sir, again, socialism is mainly, yes, even though there is primarily is an economic concept. This economic concept, there is only one country which has followed it and is successfully still going, but how long, no one knows. China, apart from every other country who has taken up socialism in its true sense, has failed in a huge fashion. Second thing, when no, sir, please, sorry. One chance, I noted all this down because you said initially a person had just one chance to ask and no other chances, sorry. And another thing was the fact that, again, you said no equal opportunities, and as an economic student, I am completely against this because I have data to prove that in 2014, when the current government, the ruling government came, which is still continuing, the income inequality was 20, again, it is Gini coefficient based on Lawrence curve, something which I read. It was 27.7 or around that thing. Right now, according to 2024 or 25, it is down to 24 point, which shows that income inequality among Indians from the highest to the lowest has reduced. And I guess 1 or 2 months back, or maybe even very recently, a Business Standard newspaper, front of the page, there was a news on the stock market which showed that the holdings of the richest people in India and their contribution to the GDP for the past 1.5 years has reduced rather than increased, which I guess goes against something which you said, where there is no equal opportunities, or there is no, in that sense. Going back to then, again, I guess...
I will forget your questions now. There are 4 already.
So, I guess more than question, I just wanted to,
Can we have claps for our friend?
And one more thing, if I may, I just wanted to mention this. So sorry. I guess, I know it's a bit controversial. I was trying to hide it out. But then you said secularism and everything, and I do accept it. I do believe Indian society as a whole is secular in nature. I won't use the word secular. It's very pluralistic in nature. And I use the word pluralistic because secularism in the word essence is separation of state and religion. And when you take that in the essence, when you take Article Right to Education Act 2009, which I guess why we say that education, which is why we give Manmohan Singh sir and respected Prime Minister, we give him. But then in this same law where we give education, it against clearly discriminates against the majority, where we say that only the majority community here, Hindus, are mandated, or majority run institutions are mandated for 25% for EWS students, while minority institutions are kept again. So here, my question here comes is that, where is secularism there? Second thing, education has no religion, whatever happens. So in that, irrespective, I am a Hindu, I studied because this is the best college and I'm proud of it too. So education has no religion. So in a law where you mandate education to this country, why is there religion propagated in this? Why is there... Yeah, that is basically, so it would be great if I had answers to all this 5.
Thank you very much. Thank you. So your friend has asked questions on everyone's behalf. Yeah, just 1 second. Because There are 4 questions. I will forget it. I'm so happy that he has asked those questions. I'll respond to this and then get back to what I wanted to finish. So his first question is that I said Indian society has been very unfair to women. And he said, no, that's not true. Kerala is matrilineal. That's the essence of his point. I would beg to differ. Yes, you know Kerala better than I do. But I would beg to differ. Matrilineal and matriarchal are 2 very different things. Kerala is matrilineal, so is Meghalaya. Many communities in Meghalaya are also matrilineal. But which is to say, your name of a family runs through women and not through men. That's all right. But does it mean that women exercise equal power in society? I do not know Kerala as well as you possibly may, but when I look around, just as a casual observer, when I look at politics, when I look at newspapers, I do not see that. Please show me women exercising equal power. If you show me, I will believe you. As yet, I'm not convinced. Can I just finish this one by one, yeah? But you don't have to convince me, you have to convince all of them. Convince them that they exercise equal power at home, that they are not discriminated against, that at home they get the same treatment as their brothers do. As wives, they are not ill-treated, they are not beaten. As women leaders, they get the same opportunities as men. Convince them. If you convince them, I'm already convinced. It doesn't matter. His second correction was, I said it is a religious institution, and he's absolutely right, and thanks for correcting me. This is not a religious institution. It's an educational institution run by a religious denomination, which is different from being a religious institution. So thanks for correcting me. On socialism, my friend believes that socialism has failed everywhere in the world except in China. That's why, in my presentation, I have tried to keep everything to its core and basics. There is a core of socialism, which is the idea of equality. And then there is paraphernalia about socialism, which is to say there should be state should control property, there should not be any private property, dictatorship of the proletariat, and this and that. All that is paraphernalia which is mounted on the idea of equality. And you are absolutely right. The experience of 20th century has shown that some of this paraphernalia doesn't work. The Soviet system did not work, it collapsed because it was bad economy. That design does not work. History has shown us. But history has not shown us that equality does not work. What we need is different designs now for the idea of equality to work. If someone wants, if your point is Soviet-style socialism does not work, I absolutely agree with you. If your argument is, therefore, we cannot have any economic equality in the world, I would say, my friend, I completely disagree. We have to invent better and newer systems in the world. That is what we need. I think you said that in India we have income inequality has reduced. It's a technical subject, and I would invite many of the economists here to think about it. I think you referred to the Gini coefficient. I don't want to bore everyone with technical statistics. I think the only thing that happened is during COVID, there was a reduction in inequality. But it is because everyone became poor during COVID. That is not a sign of a great country or a great economic development or anything. It's a technical flaw that happened during COVID because everyone's income was flattened. Because there was no work, there was no income. After that, the data has come back, and my own impression, subject to correction, is that in India, not just in the last 10 years, in the last 30 years, in India, inequalities have increased. Poverty has reduced, but inequalities have increased. So earlier we were like this, now the lowest has come up, but the upper has gone up substantially. So less poverty but greater inequality is what defines India in the last 25 years. But please correct me if I'm mistaken on that, and we can have an email exchange on that. And finally, your question was, how is secularism compatible with some institutions having the privilege of not having to follow certain regulations, which is to say minority institutions. So how is secularism compatible with the idea of minority institutions which enjoy a certain privilege? My suggestion would be, and it's a very good question, it's a very important legal question, which Indian Supreme Court has settled not once but more than once. The idea that equality means same treatment is a very poor idea of equality. When you say, for example, in your college, suppose it's a college with boys and girls, and the college management says, we will have a special bus run for girls to ensure that girls come to college safely. That may not be necessary in Kochi, but in many places it is necessary to have a bus for girls which brings them to the institution. The same bus is not available to boys. Is that discrimination? No. Every dissimilar treatment does not mean unequal treatment. Similarity is not equality. Similarity of similar situations is equality. So all over the world, there is a recognition that certain kinds of people need special treatment in order to ensure that they have equal opportunity. Equality is not similarity. That is why in every country in the world which is a constitutional democracy, there are special safeguards extended to those communities which may seem to be vulnerable. Religious minorities are one such group. In India, scheduled caste and scheduled tribe are another such group. When special provisions are made for scheduled caste and scheduled tribe, it does not go against the principle of equality. In fact, the Supreme Court has said that the only way to enforce equality is by giving special treatment to these groups. So I'm very happy that you have brought out this nuance, because on the face of it, on a simple reading, it might seem that dissimilar treatment is a discriminated treatment. No. Dissimilar treatment is sometimes necessary in order to give equal treatment. That's a conceptual point that we need to remember. But I must thank you for reminding this. And I'll conclude what I had to say in just now 2-3 minutes. After that, your question comes. I was saying that we are in a country where all the 4 fundamentals that I spoke about are gradually disappearing. We are in a situation where the foundations of our republic are being challenged. I'm not saying they were not challenged before. There was emergency where democracy was challenged. There was 1984 when minorities were massacred. There were situations where poor have been very badly treated. But we have never had a phase in our national life where all the pillars of our republic are being attacked simultaneously. We have never had a phase in our national life where the assault on the foundations of our republic is coming from the very top. It is not coming from outside. It is not coming from any marginal force. It is from the very top that this assault is being engineered. That, to my mind, is the most important threat. How do we meet that threat? My answer is by doing politics. I go back to what I said right in the beginning. If Saint Chavara was here today, he would probably be in politics. And why? Because the foundations of all that I have said in this lecture is simply this, that there are foundational values of our republic, which are not only the foundational values of our constitution, but these are foundational values of India for the last 2,000-3,000 years. What we face today is not just a challenge to the document called Constitution of India. What we face today is a challenge to the very foundational values of India. And the only way of responding to those challenges is by creating public consciousness, by mobilizing the people. A republic can sometimes be defended by legislatures. A republic can sometimes be defended by judiciary. But in the last instance, a republic is only defended by the public. And the only way of responding to the challenge that our republic faces today is to mobilize the public behind the Constitution, behind constitutional values. I say all this because I feel very guilty. I feel very ashamed personally on behalf of my generation. My generation, post-independence Indian generation, we built our careers, we built our companies. We did not build this country. We forgot about it. We took it for granted. We assumed that now we have constitution, now we have democracy, now we have judiciary. The country will progress. I only need to look after my family. We made a mistake. I'm sorry to say, the country that we are handing over to you today is a country which is worse than the country that we inherited. The country that I was born into was a poor country, but in that country, people did not applaud lynching. In the country where I was born, there was no bulldozers, and those bulldozers were not applauded by ordinary people. I'm sad, I'm sorry, I'm very ashamed of it, that we are handing you over a country where all these things are happening, where the foundational values of our republic are being challenged. I say what I say today in the hope that at least some of you will think about it. That's why I did not want to give a lecture, because I can give a lovely lecture, newspapers can report it tomorrow, and it may not mean anything to all of you sitting here. For me, education is not what you do for examination. After some time, you will forget what you studied in a specific course. Sometimes later, you will forget the name of the course. You will forget the name of the teacher. What you remember after that is education. When you've forgotten the name of the teacher and the course and the syllabus and your grades and your marks and everything, when you don't even remember where your degree is lying, what stays with you then is education. And my friends, I speak as I do today in the hope that some of the things that I say today may stay with some of you, even if one of you, that when you speak 50 years from now, 40 years from now, when one of you is invited to this dais and given that lovely, high-flowing introduction, you will not have to apologize to the audience. You will not have to say, I'm ashamed that I'm handing you over a country which is worse than the country that I inherited. And that, to me, is the true dharma of democracy. That is the true task of education. And if some of you, even one of you, takes to this task, my job would have been done properly. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for an intellectually stimulating and thought-provoking address. We greatly appreciate that you actively tried to engage the students in dialogue. I'm sure, as we saw, that it encouraged them to think deeply about the values of India, as you so rightly put it. For one final time, in that spirit, we open the floor for any final questions or comments that you may have had during the session.
So I want to start with a wine because I didn't ask that question. The rule of the game was to ask that question. I actually answered that question. That's completely different. So you take my try. So my question was, even though my friend Shiva Dutta asked you both questions, I won't let you do it. Because we have time constraint. So my question was, one of your Buddha's name is, one of your Hindi Buddha's name is Dhanaraja Swadharma. Dhanarajata Swadharma. So where you write an article on Indian Express that you had a fight with your editor because the usual word for republic in Hindi is Dhanatandri. Even the Hindi translation for republic is Dhanatandra Divas. So what's the difference between Dhanatandra and Dhanaraja and how it is important in today's context when we know the constitution, and you have mentioned that how the constitution be under attack, how the four fundamentals you talked about are being disappearing from our lives.
So her question is, in case you did not get it, her question is, what is the difference between Ganatantra and Ganarajya? Because the title of my recent book in Hindi is Ganarajya Ka Swadharma. And why do I choose the word Ganarajya and not Ganatantra is her question. Thank you very much for the question. I've written an article in Indian Express explaining that. To me, the discipline of political science has reduced the meaning of the word republic only to any non-monarchical system. It's a very truncated, reduced meaning of a republic. The word republic should have a much wider and deeper meaning. And that wider and deeper meaning is that of a political community with shared values. We forget that. I would invite you to read a book by Philip Pettit called Republicanism. That is a deeper legacy. To put it very simply, Jana, we say Jana Gana Mana. Jana plus Gana is Ganatantra, which is democracy. A system, Tantra is a system. So a system through which people rule, Jana plus Gana is Ganatantra, democracy. Gana plus Tantra plus Mana Mana is about shared values. So Gana plus Tantra is Jana, Gana, Mana put together. That is a republic. We have forgotten that a republic requires some shared values. And where we have failed in the last 70 years is to cultivate those values, is to generate those values and to defend those values. That is why I now insist on using the word Ganarajya, which is a republic in a deeper sense of the term, which is not merely about a Gana Tantra in a limited sense, a non-monarchical system of governance in which people, not the king, rules. But for me, Gana Rajya, republic, is much wider and deeper concept. That's why I use it.
Thank you, Shri Yogendra Ji, for your very erudite presentation, but very engaged conversation, I would say. I was taken up by your 4 pillars of our Indian society. I don't want to say the people's governance. Now, I was hearing almost all the important words, but I missed one very key value or concept, that is dignity. I was just browsing through your lecture. You were speaking about equality and all that, but all these pillars, all these 4 pillars stand on human dignity. If we can deliver that, I think we are in a better society and we build a better society for us and for the generations to come.
Thank you for the question, and thanks for reminding this. This is absolutely vital. You would have noticed that I actually did not use that triad, liberty, equality, fraternity, which is a very standard triad that people use, in which dignity is the 4th very important component. I've been thinking about it, and for the last couple of years, much of my thinking and reading has gone into these things. There is absolutely no doubt that dignity has to be an essential component. Just as liberty, you would say liberty is missing from all these 4. Because what has happened, I keep trying to understand these words in the context of what we have experienced in the last 3,000 years. How have these notions been built into this? So the word karuna may not look like having a dignity component today. But if we look at the word karuna in its historical context and the idea of rahm in Islam, I do think there is an element, there is a component of dignity there. But that would require a longer discussion. But I completely take on board what you have said, and that there has to be a more explication of how do these things, liberty, equality, fraternity, dignity, I think all 4 of these, how they built into this is something I need to spell out further. Yes, someone there had a question. Oh, did you have a question? You had a question? Yeah. Sorry, yeah.
So when you talk about socialism, it's a term or a word which has many dimensions. What do you exactly mean? Is it Nehruvian socialism or the socialism existing in our neighboring country?
You are absolutely right to say that the word socialism is one of the most used and abused words. And there was a time when socialism was seen to be mainly a property of Soviet Union and countries that followed that kind of a system. But you see, socialism is a word that is prior to Marxism. Even before the birth of Marx, the word socialism was in currency. What happened in the 20th century was that the very idea of socialism was captured and dominated by one substream, which happened to be the communist stream, which was a substream of socialism. In 21st century, in a sense, we are back in the 19th century. In the 19th century, socialism is a stream which is an all-encompassing stream. It's an umbrella term. In 20th century, it breaks into different streams: democratic socialist, communist, Naxalite, all kinds of streams. In 21st century, they all have to merge once again together and go back to the core idea. The core idea is that of equality. And that idea is worth defending. And the challenge that we have in the 21st century is to create an economic system which does justice to the idea of equality. The economic system created in Soviet Union, China is of course no example at all. China is no model of any kind of socialism. But Soviet Union was. That model failed. Why did that model fail? And what kind of a model can we evolve today to be true to the idea of equality is a challenge of the 21st century. So I do not have any ready-made models, but I would say that in India we are fortunate, because in India we have had a socialist tradition which is independent of and in opposition to the dominant Soviet interpretation of the 20th century. And I think of Acharya Narendra Dev, Jayaprakash Narayan, and Ram Manohar Lohia. If you look at that, you get a reading of socialism which is very different from the official Soviet versions and so on and so forth. I think today we need to build on that and develop a new model for 21st century. If 21st century says we don't like this label socialism, do away with that. But the core idea of samatha, equality, at the heart of human relations has to be retained, has to be cultivated. That is a submission I have.
Sir, my question is, since the past many years, the Indian education system is being transformed. There are a lot of so-called educational reforms being introduced into the picture, as a result of which courses are being, in quotes, revamped. A lot of content is being removed from these courses. They are being renamed. And I feel in India, especially today, humanities courses are being endangered badly. In the name of revamping, in the name of so-called industrial value, humanities courses are being edited. A lot of content is in the process of being removed. The narrative is being changed, and even literature and humanities departments across the country are being shut down in the name of industry value, and I don't know what else. I would like to call it saffronization of academia. My question is, what do you think, how does this, especially the endangering of humanities education, have an impact on, or will have an impact on Indian academia as a whole and India as a country?
Thank you. It's a very good question. First thing, educational curricula should change with times. And I'm not someone who is going to object to changes because things have been dramatically transformed. Number two, in my view, we never did justice to humanities and social sciences. It is a shame that people who study in IITs, in medical colleges, they learn nothing about society. I mean, this is such a truncated education. So it is not that in the past we did very well. Our past of modern Indian education of the last 60, 70 years, of which I am a product, this was not a great education system. It needs to be changed. But what we are witnessing is not the kind of change that we need. We are witnessing exactly the opposite kind of changes. You mentioned the word saffronization. I think it's much worse than that. Saffronization indicates that university syllabi and education system is being transformed in order to suit one particular ideology. I think what's happening is, I can say only in Hindi, what's the English word for that? They say the Bhagwakaran. Saffronization is called Bhagwakaran. And I say what's happening is not Bhagwa Karan, it is Ghatiya Karan. It is degradation of education which is happening in the name of even saffronization. When the present regime says we want to introduce Indian knowledge systems, I'm for it. I want Indian knowledge system to be taught. I want my younger generation to know deeper about the intellectual, cultural traditions of this country. But please remember, number one, this country does not have one tradition. We have had multiple traditions in this country. I want my children to study all that. I want my children to study, younger people to study in different languages. What is being done today is not Indian knowledge system. It is a degraded version of a political ideology. If you say that we had plastic surgery in the times of Lord Ganesha, you are making a laughing stock of India in the world. No one is going to listen to you seriously if you say idiotic things of this kind. Plastic surgery in the time of Lord Ganesha, we had aviation because we had some mythologies mentioned that. This is no Indianization, this is just degradation of education. You know, Indianization of education will mean taking Indian context seriously, taking our needs, putting our needs, our context, our resources, our intellectual sources in the front. Do that. So for me, inventing a fridge which can run without electricity, that is Indianization of education and technology. Because it is as per the needs of Indians today. A medical research that focuses on diarrhea, which is what people die of in this country, that is Indianization. Because it takes Indian need, Indian context, Indian situation. Being able to ask questions from the Indian context is Indianization. You find your answers in Europe, go take it. You find your answers in China, take it. You find your answers from Indonesia, take it. The question should be your own. That is Indianization. Unfortunately, what is happening in higher education, in the name of Indianization, in the name of NEP, is degradation of education. And it is wholesale import of American model without any Indianization. You know, this is not Indian. The NEP is, what is being done in higher education. I don't know the Hindi word for it. You understand tadka? Tadka that you put on dal. So I say, this is American model of education with an Indian tadka on it. You know, you pick the American model, and then on top of it, some Om Bhur Bhasva, you put a few things and so on, and you say this is Indian. This is not Indian. You know, and in that sense, I say with all seriousness that those who are ruling this country today are more colonized in their thinking than anyone else. The RSS model of nationalism is a German model, it's not an Indian model. Those who talk about removing Macaulay from this country, and I wrote that in an article, that yes, let us banish Macaulay, and as a beginning, let us banish RSS, because these are the purveyors of colonial modes of thinking. So what is being done today in education is actually imitative. It is colonial. With some, I call them tilakdhari Macaulays. Macaulay with a tilak on it. That is not what we need. So in that sense, yes, I'm very worried about what is being done in education today.
I need a small clarification regarding your presentation on equality. You have rightly pointed out that the gap between the equality levels have gone up. But at the same time, you were referring that in our times, the poverty was very much prevailing in our society or in the country. Now, that gap is going up and the poverty is coming down. See, once we address our generation, where they don't have much role models in society, politics, or religion, their specs on the growth or bringing the equality is on the basis of creating wealth. So if a nation is progressing with creating wealth, how do you address their apprehensions regarding what are the other options other than wealth or
It's a very valid question, sir, and it's a very difficult question. The simple fact is that in the last 77 years, last 80 years now, we as a country have failed to evolve any serious models of equality. We've spoken about socialism, but we've only spoken. We've done nothing about it. And what was done in the name of socialism in 1960s, 1780s was not socialism. It was not a good model. It was keeping everyone poor. Keeping everyone poor is not socialism. So yes, today the generation says we are creating wealth. And with it comes the theory of trickle down. Once you create wealth, it will trickle down, everyone will get it. That is also wrong. Nothing of that kind in reality takes place. So we have two models. One is of keeping everyone very poor, because what was done in the name of socialism was a lot of hypocrisy. Because at that time, Tatas and Birlas were doing very well. So it was not true socialism in 70s and 80s. Unfortunately, now we have the other extreme, where we are being told, let a few persons do what they like. They will create huge wealth, and maybe some of that will also reach ordinary people. Can we not have a third way? And that is a challenge for economists, that is a challenge for future nation builders, to think about a third way. You see, the failure of the Soviet model has shown us that economic incentives are a must. You cannot run an economy without giving ordinary people economic incentives. So, nationalization of wealth, nationalization of property does not work. Lovely. But what is the scale of incentives? In my own understanding, an incentive of 1:2 is a very big incentive. I'm earning 10,000 rupees a month today. If I work very hard, I can earn 20,000. That's a huge incentive for human beings to work. Make it 1:10, from 10,000 to 1 lakh. Why is it that we need to create incentive structures which are 1:1,000,000? What is the difference between your wealth, my wealth, and Mr. Adani's wealth? It is not even 1:1,000,000. We'll have to have a new kind of mathematics for that. So my question is, yes, incentives are necessary. Wealth generation is necessary. But do we need to create a structure where incentives are 1:infinite? Do we need infinite levels of prospects? I think a lot of research on economics shows that when incentives are 1:2, 1:10, people work very hard. When incentives are 1:1,000, then the person who is at 1,000, instead of working hard, he would find ways to ensure that no one else can enter the market. So actually it distorts market. My understanding is that the kind of capitalism that we have in India today, which is dominated by A1 and A2, this A1, A2 dominated capitalism is actually a disservice to wealth creation in this country. It is disservice to incentives in this country. Ask industrialists in Bombay. What are A1 and A2 doing currently in this country? Basically, they are stymieing the possibility of growth of capital in this country. So what we need is an understanding that markets are here to stay. Markets are not going to disappear. And state is here to stay. State regulation and market incentives, how do we combine the two in a proportion which can generate not full equality, but which raises everyone else and keeps the top one below a certain ceiling? This is a system that we need to design. Many experiments have taken place. We think of private property and state ownership as the only two models. But no, cooperative ownership has produced very good results. And why is it that we don't invest more in it? Yugoslavia, before it was demolished, offered us a very wide range of possibilities. So I would want to explore all those things before we conclude that any equality is not possible. And I think our next generation is smarter than us. They will probably come up with smarter ideas.
Okay, thank you, everyone.
One last question, because I couldn't go home without asking this question, especially the way you ended your lecture sounded like an imagination or a poet, more of an idealist than a psephologist or the social scientist, which I used to listen to you in your lectures. So my question is this: can't we think of a regime change, the so-called smart regimes at work in India? Can't we think of a regime change very soon in India, or do we need to wait just like Martin Luther waited in America, like a distant dream, right? Because you ended up as an idealist or a poet than as a psephologist or as a social scientist.
I'm very happy that I did not sound like a psephologist. I did not want to be one. It was thrust upon me. I had to live with it, and I'm very happy to get rid of it. I'm okay if I don't sound like a social scientist, because social sciences have not contributed as much to our social knowledge as they should have, at least in countries like India. So I'm very happy to sound like a political activist, which is what I am. Is there a possibility of a regime change? When we try to forecast natural events, we follow one kind of logic. Is it likely to rain in Kochi tomorrow? That's a question which has a different kind of answer, because my wanting it or not wanting it has nothing to do with the likelihood of rains. But is there going to be a regime change? It's not like, is there going to be rains in India tomorrow? It depends on what I do about it. And this is the fundamental difference in thinking. And to my mind, any lazy speculation about what is going to happen, irrespective of what I'm going to do or not going to do, it is of no consequence. It's pointless. So there is this thing in social science about self-fulfilling prophecies. You make a prophecy in a way that it becomes self-fulfilling. That is what we need in politics. We need prophecies which are not psephology, which actually invite people to participate in it and to bring it about. So I do not know whether we are going to see a regime change or not. I do know that what is being done in this country today runs against the grain of this civilization. I do know that Indians will not tolerate dictatorship for very long. We are not Russia. And I do not mean to say in any ethnic terms. Russians have not experienced democracy. Earlier in the name of socialism, now in the name of Putin and whatever. They've never tasted it. Indians tasted it for 70 years. They may be deluded into believing that it's not being taken away from them. But when they realize, they will come back. I have seen emergency. I have seen 1977. During emergency, people used to whisper to each other. People used to say, big leaders used to say, maybe this will go on for 25, 30 years. We don't know when it will end. They have captured everything. There is no hope. And when 1977 came, I was young, I was only 14 years old. But 14-year-old is enough to see the world. I remember what happened that day. I remembered when the results were announced. North India was a different country at that time. South India experienced it very differently. But the day the results came, I saw how people reacted. That is the day when I was turned into a political scientist and into a political animal, because I saw it with my eyes. I cannot believe that India will tolerate this for a very long time. How they come back, when they come back, I do not have a recipe. I cannot forecast. All I can say, and I say this to my friends in Hindi again, sorry, some of these things come out in Hindi with me, कि इस देश की जनता, सवाल ये नहीं है कि देश की जनता खड़ी होगी कि नहीं, सवाल ये है कि जिस दिन जनता खड़ी होगी तब तक हम तो नहीं बैठ जाएंगे. The question is not whether the people of India will stand up against this tyranny or not. The real question that you and I should think about is whether we would be able to stand till the day people stand. That is our challenge. So I want to keep standing till the day people stand. They will stand. And I can guarantee you, you are much younger than I am. I may not be around. But mark my word, Indians will stand up against this. And when they stand, these big houses of power will collapse like pack of cards. We've seen that. We've seen it all around. They'll collapse like pack of cards. And at that time, people will not remember all these big names with their big powers and the retinue that follows them. People will remember those lone voices, possibly like yours, who stood up against it. Today, we do not remember the names of all the judges, the great judges during emergency. There was big scholarly judges with great reputation who all surrendered during emergency. And there was one judge who was not known to be brilliant, who was known to be an ordinary judge, but who had spine, Justice H.R. Khanna. We remember him today, not all those brilliant judges in the emergency. This is what is bound to happen in this country. We do not know when, but why do I need to know it? I just need to work towards it. As someone who has worked in social movements, I can tell you, we were in farmers' movement, and after 1 month of it, 1 year of it, 12 months of it, we said, fine, one more winter, and we had held a meeting to arrange more quilts for the next winter, and so on, and we were anxious, and we were frustrated, nothing is happening, we are here for 12 months, and I was in Guwahati that day, trying to drum up more support and trying to get more farmers from Assam to come and join because they were not joining. And suddenly they said, Prime Minister is addressing the country. And he said, all the 3 bills are withdrawn. So what I have learned is this, that you keep banging your head against the wall. And you should know that the place where you bang your head will never break. Your head might break, that wall will not break at that point. But somewhere a brick will fall. You may not directly get the credit for that brick falling, but the brick will not fall till you keep banging your head against the wall. This is what I have learned. This is what's more important than any psephology or prediction.
Thank you, sir. Due to the paucity of time, we now wrap up the Q&A session. I'm sure sir will be happy to take more questions if you have any outside. I now invite our principal, Dr. C.S. Biju, and our vice principal, Dr. Joseph Kusumalim, to felicitate Shri Yadav. As a token of our deep respect and gratitude, Sacred Heart College is honored to present you with a traditional memento from Kerala, symbolizing the vibrant cultural spirit of our land. Along with this, we offer you a Chandamangalam handloom mund, meticulously hand-woven by skilled artisans. This fabric carries the poignant story of resilience of the weaving community that revived their crafts and livelihoods in the aftermath of the devastating Kerala floods of 2018. Today, it stands as a symbol of heritage, perseverance, and hope. Please accept these humble tokens as expressions of our heartfelt appreciation and sincere thanks for your graceful presence here today. I now request Dr. Robbie Cherian, Staff Secretary, to propose the vote of thanks.
आदरणीय श्री योगेंद्र यादव जी, आपके प्रेरणादायक विचारों और मूल्यवान शब्दों के लिए हम हृदय से आपको धन्यवाद करते हैं। आपने हमें सोचने, समझने और समाज के लिए सकारात्मक रूप से कार्य करने की प्रेरणा दी है। शुक्रिया। अब मैं अपने कर्तव्य पर आता हूँ। Respected Reverend Dr. Varghese Kachapalli, CMI Manager, SH Institutions, respected Dr. C.S. Biju, Principal, Sacred College, esteemed Speaker, Shri Yogendra Yadav ji, distinguished guests, faculty members, non-teaching staff, dear students, and all present. On behalf of Sacred College, I consider it a great privilege to propose a vote of thanks for the St. Chavara Excellence for Social Transformation Lecture 2026. First and foremost, we express our profound gratitude to Shri Yogendra Yadav, political thinker and activist, for delivering an inspiring and thought-provoking lecture. His insights on social transformation, democracy, and civic responsibility have deeply enriched our understanding and will surely motivate us to become more responsible and engaged citizens. We sincerely thank Reverend Dr. Varghese Kachapalli, CMI Manager, for his constant encouragement and visionary leadership, which continually strengthens the academic and value-based mission of our institutions. Our heartfelt appreciation goes to Dr. C.S. Biju, Principal, Sacred College, Kochi, for his warm welcome, guidance, and full support in organizing this prestigious lecture. We also thank Dr. Jinu George, Senior Woman Faculty Member, for gracefully introducing the speaker and setting up the tone for the session. We also extend our heartfelt thanks to Dr. P.J. Anthony, our esteemed alumnus and former classmate of Shri Yogendra Yadav ji at JNU, for ensuring the smooth arrival of our chief guest to the college. We extend our gratitude to the organizing committee, which was headed by Reverend Dr. Joseph Kusmalayam, all faculty coordinators, NCC unit, student volunteers, technical team, and all supporting staff whose dedicated efforts ensure the smooth conduct of today's program. A special word of thanks to all our students and participants for their presence and active engagement. I acknowledge the presence of Father Prashant Balakapalli, former principal, Professor K.V. Thomas, and also Reverend Dr. Jason Paul Murlarikal. Thanks a lot for gracing this occasion. Finally, we thank each and everyone who contributed directly or indirectly to the success of this program. Once again, thank you for all for being part of this meaningful academic and social discourse. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I just finally thank the representatives of various media houses that were here today. Thank you for taking the time and effort to be here. As we come to the conclusion of today's program, may I request everyone to kindly rise for the national anthem.